here, and we'll get this party started. Forgive me, I'm having a few computer hiccups today. And still says, oh, there it goes. Okay, we just popped on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Graders Notes. Sorry for the late delay, but we had a slight technical problem. All right, had to turn the volume off over there. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. I think everyone knows our little rogues gallery we have here, but we'll introduce each other in just a moment. This is the show where we take a look at great comic books from the past and see if they're actually any good or not. We all know they might be valuable, but are they actually any good? So we tend to break down a comic book and kind of look at all its little moving parts to see, once again, if the machine is a workable one. So tonight we're going to take a little bit of a detour off the comic books into something we talked about doing earlier, and that's discussing comic book-based movies. So we picked out a golden oldie from 1987 for the inaugural episode of our little endeavor, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone. To my right is our friend from the Great White North, Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle, would you please introduce yourself and say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Miracle. Yeah, super excited to switch it up a little bit, do a little cinema action on here on Graders Notes, and glad everybody in the chat could join us. So, yeah, eager to jump into this one.
Oh, we're all over it. So, down there in the wild bogs of Mississippi, we got Mr. Metarog down there. Metarog, why don't you say hello to the beautiful people out there?
Greetings, everyone. Great to be here again on another episode of Graders Notes. And this time, we didn't throw a curveball. We just threw it right out of the stadium. And we're going to celluloid today. To one of those really iconic movies. If you were a kid in the 80s, probably had some of the toys. I think Bake said he had the bed sheets. So let's see what the Rogues Gallery thinks of this gem.
And no Rogues Gallery be complete without the last member of our quadricta. That would be none other than Comic Cat 84 coming at us from the great mid-north of Massachusetts. So, hey, say goodbye. Hi to everyone there, would you, Kenny?
Hello there. It is me, Comic Cat 84, coming at you. Quick programming note is because there's a duplicate of this stream. So all that means is, like, Miracle, I think you're in the old one, because I noticed that you put in a comment into the other one.
Oh, yeah, I switched.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So as long as everybody knows, but I think we're good. I let the other people know. Yeah, man, it's Masters of the Universe movie edition of Graders Notes. We're using the same formula, breaking down the categories, 1 through 5 grade. Chat participation is welcome. I can't wait.
All right. So, yes, the Rogues Gallery is now introduced for those of you who don't know us somehow by now. And so we're going to treat this just like we do the comic books. We're going to break this down to 5 overall categories, but 4 main categories to see how it holds up. First category is going to be script and or story or screenplay. Second category is going to be the acting performances. Oh boy, that's going to be a fun one. Third is going to be production quality and the value of the production itself. Basically things like special effects, set design, that sort of thing, costumes. 4, we're going to go with source accuracy. This one's going to be a little bit difficult because a lot of people don't have the little He-Man comics, but a few of us here on stream do. Hint, spoiler, it's not me. But yeah, there you go, He-Man versus Superman. Go. And last but not least, we'll have the overall score. And as always, the chat will be the 5th grader in our little escapade. So be sure to pay attention and throw your grades in there when we get done with ours, and we'll tally them up at the end and see how things work out. So I don't know, boys. You guys ready to jump into this thing?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Sort of.
Sort of. Today is going to be it's the same format. We're each going to take 2 minutes on each category, and then if you hear the Gobbler of Doom, it's time to wrap it up. So be prepared for that, and let's go ahead and get this started. First off, I guess we will start out with the script. Script being almost analogous to the story inside the book. So it won't be quite the cover like we usually start with, but it doesn't really matter that much. So let's go ahead and start with Dave. Dave, why don't you tell us what you think about the story of this movie? By the way, once again, we're doing Masters of the Universe 1987, the live action movie.
Yes, 1987 live action movie. Oh, the script. What happened? Like, I understand maybe they wanted to cut down on budget. Like, but why would you bring them to Earth? Oh, man, should we recap the story a little bit for people who haven't seen it? Essentially, He-Man finds this little dude, Grizzlor. Gildor, sorry. And he's got a magic key that can transport anybody anywhere. Of course, they happen to transport themselves to Earth, and then this all happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and they go on to do adventures on Earth, trying to stop Skeletor from taking over the planet Earth, because he's also got one of these little contraptions that can transport you anywhere in the universe. But why would you take them off Eternia? Like, if you're gonna watch a He-Man movie, you want to see Eternia, right? Not like most of the shots looks like they were shot in a warehouse somewhere in like lower Los Angeles somewhere, right? Like, it's really lots of cardboard boxes in the background and stuff. They really needed, like, they had so much good source material for the scripting, and they just completely did their own thing. And then they wonder why this movie was such a failure. I am a fan of like cheesy bad movies. I love it, and this one fits square into that cheesy bad movie. I mean, as soon as you get a movie where they're just like, okay, whatever cheapness we can get away with, script it out. Okay, well, they go into a warehouse in Los Angeles, and then we'll have it fighting, and then, oh, we'll just cut He-Man mostly out of the movie because he's an expensive actor, and then we'll focus on these other actors. And yeah, the script was not good, man. I mean, like I said, you had so much stuff you could get, right? Like, why were they making up weird characters like the little guy Grizzlord and
Gwildor.
Grildor. I keep forgetting. Wait, why would you make him up? Like, why would you have this little annoying guy that you just made up when the cartoon already has a little annoying guy that everybody identifies with in Orko? Like, why would you use him and not Orko? Didn't make a lot of sense to me. Loved it because of like the cheese involved, but got to give the script a 1, like a 1. It was way no fan, pandering at all in this script. They just did whatever the heck they wanted to do, and then it went that way. So 1 for the script.
Uno for the
All
script,
right.
though.
1 it is. Starting off on a high note today, we are, it seems. No big surprise there, because I'm sure that'll be a pretty common theme among at least in this category. So thank you for that. Graceful insight, should I say. And speaking of graceful, let's move on to our most astute and learned of colleagues here. Mr. Metarog, what's your opinion on the
I thought you were
script of this
interviewing
movie?
me. Sorry.
See, when the
I
protege...
thought that was my cue. No, I'm just kidding. I know what you're talking about.
Damn, Dave, I have that same glass in my house. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Metarog, it's all yours.
Whenever I'm ready. Okay, I was just waiting for the question, but thank you. I mean, script kind of oxymoronic here. I mean, this is sort of some of the animated episodes actually had better plot lines than this did. I mean, this is your basic good versus evil against all odds. At the end, the good guys somehow pull it out. The evil guys are absolutely have like no critical thinking skills, cannot think their ways out of a paper bag. And yeah, I mean, it's very basic. I understand that the animated feature was mostly geared toward kids, but even there they failed because there's a lot of darkness in this film. I mean, there's a lot of gunfire. There, there's except for the very end, everything looks bleak. There's a couple little laughs, a couple little uh, light moments with Wildor when when he says he needs to eat, so you can't think without an empty stomach. Very basic, very just pedestrian kind of quips here and there. But yeah, there's not a lot here to hold your hat on. When I saw this movie, I was waiting for something that would kind of remind me of the animated features. And as an adaptation, Dave is right. It's a 1. If you saw the animated feature and you saw this, you'd have a hard time to sort of equating one with the other than some of the basic terms of Eternia and so forth. But I was very disappointed. I never saw Snake Mountain. We saw the inside of this, like Dave says, is a warehouse and very, very basic looking, throne room kind of place. But it never goes anywhere. The story is really about the two kids on Earth, and the tragedy that they went through and their relationship. You see very little of He-Man. You see very little of Eternia. I mean, I give a little bit of credit, in that, I think that at least they had the basic concept of a good versus evil battle, but that is so basic. Us four could come up with a better plot than that. I have to give this a 1.5 just because they at least got that part right, which was a major softball.
All right, 1.5, Mr. Metarog. Something has to be pretty poor to get a low score from our friend over there, because he looks at all angles, not just stuff that's obvious in front of you. So yeah, so far we got some low marks going on there. So I don't know, Kenny, what do you think? Can you salvage this grade, or are we doomed to be at the pit at the bottom with Skeletor?
Well, I will say, so for this category, I'm just going off the script. I'm going to reserve pointing out the missed opportunities from what you'd expect for the source accuracy category. Mm-hmm. But straight up from the script that they wrote, the biggest glaring failure that Roger just mentioned was the main characters are not He-Man and his crew or anyone you would expect. It's Courtney Coxon, the keyboard kid. And what a mistake. What a silly move. Them being on Earth, like Miracle said, is didn't do this movie any favors. So the story's kind of convoluted in that way. You spend a little time in Eternia, but yeah, they're teleported to this Earth thing. I did kind of like that the movie opens up with Skeletor like in this power position, and he has like I don't know if she's a queen or something, captive, and he kind of starts out the sorceress, mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the catalyst to the beef and everything. But mm-hmm. I thought that was a little unique. A lot of times they would show you that happen in the beginning, and then they would use it as a plot beat. But I thought it was kind of cool to open up that way with the villain in the power position and the heroes reacting to it right in the opening sequence. Basically, that was kind of cool. But yeah, then as soon as I seen you're in Castle Grayskull and you're dealing with all these characters, and then as soon as it cut to a diner in Kansas or whatever it is, and we're dealing with this Courtney Cox's bullshit, I'm like, what happened? The movie loses so much steam. The cosmic key gimmick is lame. It just so happens that you activate it by playing a tune on it, like similar to a keyboard, and Keyboard Craig knows what to do with it, and like he grabs it. It does not look like an instrument, and they find this in the park, and he's like, oh, I can play this. So it's like really forced. They totally wrote around. They wrote the script of this movie accounting for Dolph Lundgren sucking. So it was like he's totally not in the script really much at all. I'll get into that a little bit later. But like it's weird to write it without who you would think be the protagonist is not in the story. The last thing I'll give it props for a moment that I liked is Courtney Cox's mom is dead. Her parents died. And later on in the story, to like manipulate her for the key. Eva Lynn actually like mystiques into her dead mother, and that's how she gets the key from her. She's like, "Honey, come here! Oh my god!" And she's like, "What? My dead mom?" She's like, "Give me that key, honey." She's like, "Sure." I kind of like that. I was like, "Damn, that's pretty morbid to use her dead mom against her."
Yep.
I kind of laughed at that moment. So the script is a stinker. I put down the same as Metarog, 1.5, because there's really not much there. And 1.5 it is. We're on the same page with that one, Metarog.
All right, buddy.
All right, 1.5. We have not cracked outside the ones yet. Ooh, but we all knew this would be the part that might drag this poor movie down. It's the only thing that kept it out of Oscar contention that year, actually, was the scripts. And I blame the writer's strike myself. But yeah, okay, 1.5 for Missy Kenny. So yeah, not looking too hot so far for the script, but maybe I can salvage this. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to. Before I dump on the story too much, just a little bit of background though. This movie was going to have no eternity on it at first, but the director went to bat for it. He's like, "Look, guys, we had to give some fan service here because the suits just wanted to do it all on Earth." And so he actually got Grayskull pushed in there, and so he really tried hard on this movie, man. Say what you want about the writing and all, but it could have been a lot worse. But so that little aside, let's get into it. So yeah, story's bad. Let's just get in there. There is a good point. Kenny made a really good point. I like how it starts with the good guys have already lost. It's like Skynet's already taken over, and He-Man, he's broadcasting all over. I just need to see you kneel before me. That's kind of cool. So automatically, the good guys are in a desperate situation, which is that's what you want to see in a movie where there's a hero story. Unfortunately, He-Man's not the hero of the story, but that's a story for another day. Another problem with the script too is Dolph did not speak good English back then. He's a Swedish guy, and he'd be the first to tell you that a lot of his movies back then had very reduced speaking roles because he doesn't speak English well. So it looked kind of funny to American audiences if he speaks it like an accent, But why did I sound like Mario there? But anyway, not the Swedish chef. But yeah, it's all. I won't say it's all over the place, but it's a simple, direct line for the most part. They're jumping back and forth between Earth and Eternia. Yeah, there's a cosmic key that's completely new to the series. Gwildor is the low-rent Orko, but I guess it kind of makes sense because I don't remember Orko being really an inventor or anything. But they could have made Orko like a spellcaster or something who didn't know he created the spell for Skeletor or something like that. They could have worked existing IPs in there. My guess is Orko would have been just too hard for them or too expensive for them to recreate on the screen floating around. But they could have made him just a wizard or something, and called him Orko, a short wizard. But so it's just a lot of weirdness going on, man. It's like they took any excuse they could to cram special effects into the movie, and the story suffered because of it. The romantic leads, I did like seeing Tom Paris again from Voyager, and of course Courtney Cox, but yeah, I'm not the only nerd that knows who it was right away. Robert Duncan O'Neill, I believe his name is. And but that story just was so painful to watch because they're supposed to be acting like teenagers. At least he didn't look like a teenager to me, and it looked kind of creepy, like he's some older band member, kind of macking on the high school girl. They spent too much time on Earth. If they would have spent most of the movie in the throne room, I would have been happy because at least it was He-Man, you know what I mean? But no, it's Susie and Tom in small town USA wanting to get out, and there's some story about the dead parents, which does lead into kind of a morbid scene later on with Evil Lynn. But yeah, I know I'm kind of rambling all over the place, but that's how the movie was. It's a good guy tale that starts and ends at the same place it begins at. So I guess you can say it's cyclic, but this is no Joseph Campbell hero tale. Okay, it's as simplistic as it gets. It's a fetch quest for the most part, with a little bit of bodies thrown in, which aren't even bodies, of the robots. But yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with my astute colleagues on this one and give this one 1.5. It does not do justice to the source material, which they had no excuse. There was so much source material out there that, yeah, I don't know. It comes off as lazy and just as a quick cash grab. So 1.5 on the script.
All right. Well, I think that's one of the few times we've all been pretty close there to agreement on most every point.
Like I said, I gave it the 0.5 just because the director gave a crap enough to try to put some elements of the mythos in there. And he somewhat succeeded a little bit, but he just limited by what he was working with. So, all right. So let's go ahead and hand it over to the most important grader of the night, and that's you, chat.
Yes.
Please start sticking your grades in there, especially if you've seen this movie, because what self-respecting science fiction nerd or fantasy nerd or swords and loincloth nerds have not seen this movie. So let's hear your grades now, and then we'll start our friendly banter.
Bake the snake with it. Thank God he was in a band in the 80s, or he would have never known how to use that synthesizer.
I know, right? He's like
like,
Alan Parsons with that thing.
Very
that whole
convenient.
scene where he picks it up. He's like, it's a Japanese synthesizer. What the hell?
Yeah.
But this weird looking thing is a synthesizer. Like,
Ugh. No wonder Corny Cox was going to leave town in the beginning. She's like, let me get away from this guy.
If that's our idiot boyfriend, man, hope they don't procreate. But
yeah, man, and he was creepo, man. He's that guy that like graduated high school like a couple years ago and still hanging out around the high school. Where all the other kids are like, dude, move along, right?
He had the keys to her house, man. And she had the moving boxes in there. He still had the key to the house.
Oh, that's right.
You know,
Right.
and I'm
he's in there
thinking,
creeping on her, man.
You know, if you're leaving this guy, that sounds like a real dangerous situation. What if he's trying to get back? You know, who knows what he could do to try to keep you there? Because he was desperate. You could tell.
And no one else brought it up too. He's got the kidnapping van too, so it all fits perfectly with his
Yeah.
motif.
Oh, dude,
window
and
list.
how about at the end of that scene when he goes into the house with the detective, she gets on the payphone. He's trying to play it off like it's not her. And she's like, whatever you do, hang on, stay right there and hang on to that gizmo. It's very important. And the detective's like, yeah, see, give me that device. And he's like, okay, here you go. And he takes off with it. I'm like, dude, she just told you. What a goon he was.
Yeah,
And he had so much more dialogue than any other heroes in this movie too, which is really the killer, you know.
And
All
just weird stuff like the whole scene with the dead mom. Like if you came out of the back of the restaurant and your dead mom was standing there, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, mom!" I'd be like, "Holy shit, I'm out of here!" Like there's a ghost.
Yeah.
Or some shit.
Well, she was slick though, because it was like a plane crash accident, right? So I don't know if it was, who knows? She was like, "Yeah, we were hiding out, or something." I could see that. I really like that scene actually.
It wasn't in this movie. That wasn't the worst thing, that's for sure.
She's pretty remarkably poised to accept her mother like that. She's just been in the middle of a laser fight it's happening in the next room. You know, beast men and robots flying everywhere. But it's like, hey, it's mom. All right.
And it's a little
here's the key,
suspicious
Mom.
that she's
Kenny,
like,
you
and
got
by
the,
the way, give me that cosmic key. Okay, yes, Abacus
Here you
is
go.
ready.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute.
You ready with this is
I'd
going to
be
be
like,
quick,
I'm
Kenny,
gonna
because there's not that many votes. So
Okay.
we got a big 1 from Steve Whiting, 1.5 from Kavi, 2 from Russ. Yeah, Russ is high grader here. And Chad, I guess 1.
Chad.
Oh man, that's it. That's all we got today.
And bake with a 1.
Sorry, for some reason it didn't go through my already set up stream, so no one got alerts. So that's probably what's going on.
Oh, okay.
It worked last time just fine. I don't know.
All right, maybe you can put I guess it's too late to put something on the other screen. They're probably all gone. So.
Someone wants to blast out something on Instagram or something might help, but
Oh, I did. I put some on Instagram and I left a message in the comment of the other one that didn't work, and I said, "Hey, go to the other stream." So I think it's good. 1.3 was what it tallied to, so that's 1.5.
1.5, yeah.
Wow, so we're all in agreement. It's 1.5. Yeah, it's it was rough to just going from a movie script standpoint. That was pretty rough. So our next category is actually going to be the acting performances. So this is going to raise it right out from the doldrums here of where it lies from the script, because we're talking like Laurence Olivier, Sidney Poitier. We're talking like the best of the best. We're talking Dreyfus here, you know. Amazing performances by all, but I don't want to, ruin the festivities for anyone. So, Kenny, what's your take on the acting in this movie? Was it yay or nay?
The acting was, I would say, hit or miss. So, just to get them right out the way, the two, I guess, what should be main characters suck. Dolph Lundgren, I've never been a fan of that guy. he sometimes gets grouped in like the go-to action heroes of the 80s, but I never really put him in there. The only role I liked him in was as Drago, where he had like a handful of words to say. So he sucked. He was really bad. He didn't portray like a noble He-Man hero. He looked like he could easily be confused with a villain. He was always menacing looking and was a goon. So scratch him. Yeah, and I guess his English was really broken back in the 80s. So trash. Skeletor. Overall trash. Skeletor was I thought he was lame. There was no real conviction in anything. He was kind of goofy, I thought, even though the actor that played him, that Franklin Jella dude, I really liked that actor. He was in Frost versus Nixon, one of my favorite movies. He played Richard Nixon really well. In The Americans, one of my favorite TV shows, the Soviet spy movie. He's like their handler, and he's awesome in that. So I love that dude, but I didn't even know it was him until I Googled it, because you can't tell it's him with all that prosthetic bullshit. Characters that did a great job and stole the show for me. Evil Lily. I thought she was great. Evil Lynn. What was that actress's name? Is that someone that I feel like
That's Meg Foster.
Meg Foster.
Meg Foster.
Yeah,
that's her actual eye color too, believe it or not.
Yep.
Dude, Evil Lynn was good. I thought she was kind of like the main. She really drove the story more than Skeletor did in a lot of ways. I thought she was great. There was no real cringe stuff coming from her. I dug it. Man-at-Arms. That dude felt like the leader hero of that little Eternia squad. He had a head on his shoulders. He was kind of like, he almost seemed like he was maybe kind of a low-rate soldier in Eternia world, because he had a little bumblingness to him, but I still thought he was pretty badass. The guy played the role as best he could. The chicken eating scene, he did good in that. So Man-at-Arms was cool. The gnome guy, why they didn't put, what is it, Orko? Mm-hmm. Who knows? The gnome guy, he's basically like the Jar Jar Binks of this movie. And yeah, he was pretty annoying. The detective, James Tolkien, that guy, he's been in so many 80s and 90s movies. I actually love that guy, the bald detective dude. He was good, like the roughneck detective guy. So, yeah, I can't really shit on all the performances that bad. The heavy hitters, Dolphin Skeletor, bad. The Courtney Cox and keyboard kid, garbage. So all the main characters sucked, and mailed in some subpar performances, and all the side characters I thought did pretty good. So I gave it a right down the middle grade for that reason. 2.5 for the acting.
All right, 2.5, a full point above the story. So
That's
maybe
right.
the acting did save this movie. I don't know.
I thought so.
Metarod, what would you say to that statement? Did the acting raise this to Phoenix-like levels, or are we talking like Leviathan down below the ocean? I mean, what's your take on the movie, at least as far as acting
this
goes?
This is a few fathoms down, I'd say, for sure. Let me just say I agree with Kenny on a couple points. I think Evil Lynn was, to me, the shining character in this movie, both in her looks and the way that she adapted the character, and she was kind of like the second in command, kind of lieutenant, and you could tell that she meant business when when she went back to Earth, right? And she used some crafty things. She obviously couldn't use the magic that she has in the animated shows, or at least except for that when she morphed into the mom, But I thought she was pretty well portrayed. I think Skeletor was a little better than what Kenny is stating. I mean, yeah, he was over the top and he was goofy, but that was Skeletor in the adaptation too. He was defeated because he was always talking about himself. He talked way too much. He was very just flamboyant, and obviously it didn't pay attention to the fact that He-Man was still alive and that he could still do something. But I think the character wasn't that bad. I think Evil Lynn was much better, but I think Skeletor was not bad. He-Man, I think the less said there, the better. I mean, he's got the look down a bit, but man, it's like what Kenny said. I mean, he's trying to fill the role of He-Man, but he just falls so far afield from any kind of heroics, any kind of archetype of a hero that I have to give him a -5. I mean, it's just so bad. I was very disappointed in the henchmen. That they, we're going to go to another category, but they were just so terrible, over the top, and just a mess. And of course, we already talked about the two, Courtney Cox and Robert Duncan McNeil. It looked like, like they were looking at cue cards all the time, and they had to go back. God, they were just so. It was hard to watch this acting performance. It really was. But Evelyn, I thought, was pretty good. I didn't think Billy Barty was that bad with Wildor. I mean, he was annoying, yes, but he sort of fit that role well. As sort of like the skittish inventor who is kind of like scatterbrained but brilliant also. So I can't give this even an average grade. I got to give this, and only because of Evelyn, a 2.
2.0 for Meg Foster and her alluring eyes. Those are worth a full point by themselves. But
yeah, I agree.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I was researching this movie a little bit. I didn't realize that was her eye color. And they actually, they were going to give her contacts to wear. But they figured out her eyes looked fine with them the way they were. So.
Yeah, look at the movie They Live, and you'll see her eye color, and it's exactly the same.
Meg Foster.
So, oh gosh, here we go. Stay off Pornhub. She's not there. I already looked.
Yeah, I really don't know. I'm not familiar with her.
She's been in a few other 80s movies.
You ever seen They Live?
No.
With Roddy Piper. Come on, you haven't seen They Live?
Oh yeah, They Live. Well, I don't think I've ever seen the full movie. I've seen like clips of the Roddy Piper fight scene.
Oh, you got to see that. You'll like it.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll like it. Yeah.
That movie is so good, man. Like
it is. I love it. I really do.
Yeah. Was that Paul Verhoeven? I'm trying to remember who directed that.
Oh wow.
It was one of the more famous action directors.
Same guy did Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween, and
John Carpenter. Yeah, that's right. It was
Carpenter. Yeah, that's right.
It was part of a loose series, as I recall. All right, so now I got to see if I'll go ahead and take the reins on this next one to see if the acting was just getting a bad rap here. Well, once again, spoiler alert, it's not getting a bad rap, but there's a couple of good points in this movie. As far as the acting goes, yes, most of it is pretty awful. I mean, we're not gonna paint this with a rose-colored hue. It was mostly just bad, mostly B-movie bad. This is more one of those movies that tries to be an A movie, but has B-movie roots, but doesn't realize that. It's not self-aware enough to realize that. Duncan McNeil was awful. Courtney Cox is pretty awful. She's very good at playing the wide-eyed country bumpkin girl, but her lines of dialogue were just so bad. Man at Arms was pretty good. What was that John Cipher? I think his name was. He wasn't bad. He's a little too humorous. I like the idea of making Man at Arms basically, like Kenny said, the leader, because he's the most experienced. He's the most battle-hardened of all of them. And Tila is his daughter, so he's going to have to take the protective role a bit. So I didn't mind him up. He was a little bit not serious enough. I expected him to be maybe a little gruffer than he was. Like on Eternia, who's pretty gruff, but you get him on Earth and he kind of softened up a little bit. But John Cipher was pretty good. Tila was pretty forgettable, but she filled out her spandex nicely, so that was basically her role there. Wildor, while annoying, was pretty well acted, I'd say, and he was actually a pretty well-written character. I mean, they shoehorned in the Cosmic Key pretty well, and so they had to figure a way to make it, so they made him the dupe. And so that wasn't too bad. I'd rather have Orko, of course, but that's just me. He was weird. I don't know why they made him a little troll guy, but whatever. He-Man, like I said, poor Dolph. Like I said, he's been the first to admit he didn't really have much acting experience at this point, and his language is bad, or his accent was really bad. But man, even he couldn't even stand there stolidly without looking uncomfortable. And he hates this movie, by the way. He doesn't like being involved in this at all. But it shows pretty well on screen.
It shows.
He makes some interesting grunts and groans, and just some guys can stand there and not say anything and have presence, like Conan and Conan the Barbarian stood there. And it wasn't just because he was big and muscular. He just had presence about him. He looked like there was gravity behind his eyes. And Dolph just looks like he's looking for the snack chart, It's like, I don't know. Hopefully they got him nice and cheap. But, they got him for his physicality. That's what they got him for. But there's lots of big guys out there. And I'm surprised they couldn't find somebody like, what was his name? Was it not Brian Johnston? He played in a couple of Star Trek. He played Klingons a couple times in Star Trek, and he played in Dragonheart. He was like one of the counts. He's a big dude. Brian Thompson, that's his name. He played in Cobra. He was the bad guy in Cobra. Right. And he's a real big physical guy. He could have pulled that off, I think, a lot better than Dolph could at that time. But anyway, it's getting too much on Dolph. Evelyn was really good. She played she was like the Harley Quinn before Harley Quinn. She was kind of emotionally abused by Skeletor. He just used her for what he could do for her, or she could do for him. And she looked kind of like forlorn, especially in the second half of the movie when Skeletor comes to Earth and she realized that her service is no longer really required. And she looks pretty like serious in her convictions that, oh man, I've been betrayed. Frank Langella as Skeletor, I love to have seen more of him. He didn't have the complete gravity that I wanted Skeletor to have, but they didn't make him the cackling bad guy like they did in the cartoon. So I liked the way he talked. It was cool because he was like, I don't know, self-aware, and he wasn't the typical, I'm going to take over the world. While he was a megalomaniac, he was sitting there and kind of describing a little bit of what his motivation was, and why he thinks he should be the leader. So I didn't think it was too bad at all. Of course, the makeup looks a little goofy, but I mean, that's not the acting's fault. Overall, it's going to get a little below serviceable because so many of the main leads were so bad. It's just a shame people like Evelyn didn't get more screen time and Skeletor and all that. So I'm going to have to give this one a 2.0. It gets the job done for what the movie is, but definitely room for improvement.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad everyone is digging Evelyn too, because I was like, I hope no one bashes her because she's pretty good in this.
Yeah, she was good.
Oh, Biggie, man. That's true. Lex Luger. He would have been perfect, He-Man. I don't know if he was that big, though, at 87. He didn't get on the juice too hard till the early 90s, I don't think. But you're right. He looked perfect, man. He even had the little mullet and everything.
He would have still been better. Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
I was thinking of that, of who I would have fan cast. I'm not sure who, but I don't know.
I don't know, but who would you guys stick as He-Man or Prince Adam, since he was not involved in this movie? I think Brian Thompson, as far as actors go.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, couldn't you have some guy that kind of looked like him and beef him up for a few months? I mean,
anyone.
Somebody who could actually talk and somebody who had like eye contact.
Ivan Drago worked so well as a villain because he wasn't supposed to say much, and if he did have an accent, it's because he was Russian. That's how you write a villain in, like when you have a character or an actor who has limitations. So he was perfect for that role. The 2-syllable guy. But man, He-Man talks in the cartoons and the comic. He-Man talks. He's a leader, and he says nothing. He does no leading other than throwing people through portals in this movie at all. So
he's a total goon.
He's basically just he's a hard goon. They should put Man-at-Arms in charge. So, Mr. Miracle, what's your take on the acting? Are we talking like Shakespearean delight here, or are we talking like Ed Wood levels here?
Oh, we're talking Ed Wood levels. I mean, Courtney Cox, Robert Duncan, what's his last name there? McNeil, yeah. Big thumbs down. All of Skeletor's like henchmen. Like, Beastman really annoyed me his acting. He looked okay, but all the henchmen sucked. Evelyn, like you guys keep going off about Evelyn. Really? Yeah. She was so wooden. Yeah, totally did not enjoy her performance. Awful. Billy Barty, who played Grizzor. I keep forgetting. Grildor. Played Grildor. Fucking same character he plays every time.
Every movie, yeah.
Time he gets one to do his costume. Exact same character. Go back, watch Leprechaun, watch Legend. That old Tom Cruise. He plays the same character every time. So adequate. He does a serviceable job of being that character in a costume. When you go to short characters and costumes, Billy Barty is the man in Hollywood. I mean, he's been doing it since the 50s. And then, and I couldn't disagree with a lot of you guys more, Skeletor. He comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, whoa, this guy can act. This guy's actually good at this. This is a good Skeletor. He's got presence. He's totally, like, way head and shoulders above the rest of the actors in this movie. Maybe that's why I think he's good, because I was watching everybody else suck so hard. And then Frank Langella, terrible pronunciations. Anyway, he was the standout for me, big time. I mean, that little pop-up scene at the end was bad. I didn't like that, but that's not him. That's the director doing weird stuff, right? But his acting performance was good. Like, I was like, I had to go and look, because the makeup, you can't tell who it is. I was like, who is this guy? Oh, damn, it's this guy. And he only did that role because his grandson liked He-Man, right? So he's like, went and became Skeletor. And I was reading, like, of course, I was reading a little bit about the movie, and I guess it's one of his favorite roles that he's ever played. He loves it because it was so much different than what he kind of got typecast into later, as always being that, the spy guy or the leader, office guy or president or whatever, that he seems to be typecast into that role. But Skeletor, he kind of got to break out a little bit. But generally, yuck, man. Courtney Cox and keyboard boy there, Tom Paris from the Voyager series, how those two, after making that movie, ever got the chance to be a leading character in any kind of a real production like Voyager or Friends is beyond me. Because, like, if I had saw that acting as a director, like as a casting director, I would have never cast them in anything. Terrible, terrible, terrible acting. So I had to give the acting in this movie a 1 with a little parentheses, 5 for Skeletor. Frankly.
Whoa, 5 for Skeletor.
Because he stole the show for me. I would have happily watched a Skeletor movie if he was the Skeletor guy. When they reboot this movie, cast him again.
We're getting some awesome suggestions for He-Man too. I saw Mr. Perfect hanging in there, Chris Jericho.
Oh, my
all
God.
wrestlers. Yeah,
you're all wrestlers, and
wrestlers can act. That's the thing.
Dolph Lundgren's performance. Oh, maybe he wasn't bad in the movie because they had to cut him out. Like when he does the whole raising the sword and I have the power. I was like, shut the fuck up. That was the worst ever.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
He was really bad.
Yeah, it was definitely the show for the bad guys. I think the bad guys had it all, and as far as the acting goes in this movie, best scenes were with Skeletor and at least Evelyn on screen.
Yeah.
Like I said, most of the henchmen sucked, but
I've never liked her as an actress. I really never have. I always thought she was pretty wooden, pretty lame actress. It's probably why she never got her really big in Hollywood. But
hey, check out that screen, Gino. This is
that's hotness right there.
This is a GIF of the reveal of when. No.
Yeah.
Can you click mine, Gino?
Whoops.
There you go.
This is the.
Hold on. Let me get rid of this.
It's the one I'm going to show you it's a GIF of the reveal of when Courtney Cox realizes that Evil Lynn is masquerading as her dead mom. You have to click my.
There it goes.
You go. She's like, no, it's not my mom.
Yeah, it's like
look at that evil look on her face, though.
Yeah.
Meg's face.
But
That's
Evil
acting.
Lynn's, right. She's like so smug, like that's right when she gets, what she wanted, the time key, whatever. But it's just straight horror.
And here's something else I didn't mention, and no one else did either, is talk about no chemistry. The friggin' Paris and Cox had no chemistry whatsoever.
No.
They didn't look like they wanted to be in the same room together, let alone the same van.
They were horrible. And the whole movie revolved around them too.
Oh, that's
terrible.
the fatal flaw of that movie.
Yep.
Yeah, big flaw. Very big flaw.
So, all right.
The whole movie. Terrible.
That's our grade so far. So we want to hear from the 5th grader. Why don't you start casting your votes now for the acting in the amazing live action movie, Masters of the Universe? Let your votes be heard. We shall tally up in a moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my theories on this movie is one of the studio guys. I think Hollywood was really trying to push Dolph really hard back then, and I'm sure some suits got together. It's like, look, we need to get this guy pushed in some more movies. So just stick him anywhere, stick him in anything that it calls for physicality. And I think that's how he got this role. Because I mean, how would he audition for this role?
Yeah. Did he have
He
the
did audition.
Is this after
Yeah.
Rocky?
This is
Yes.
the first movie he ever got to be a star in.
I think
So
it's after Rocky. I think Rocky 4 was 86. I could be wrong. Let me look that up.
So that's why. So they had that little Rocky star power, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. They're like,
he's meant to be in the villain role. I feel like,
he's meant to
Better
be
situated. Yeah,
he's
definitely
meant to
better
be
situated.
in the catering truck cooking for some people or something.
Yeah. Because his Punisher was terrible too. I didn't like his Punisher.
Horrible actor still.
We were thinking of doing that one, and I was like, I don't want to see that movie again. Please.
Yeah,
don't
he's
make
a
me see that
terrible
movie
actor.
again.
Roger, I noticed. I think I was listening for it, but I don't think you mentioned the Man at Arms. How did that guy take?
No, I mean,
John
take away?
Cypher.
I think he was okay. I mean, I don't think that he was really terrible. I don't mention him if they're just okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just sort of highlight the top performances. I thought Langella did pretty well for most of his performance. I thought it was appropriate to the character. I don't think it was a 5, but I think his was definitely better than average.
Yeah.
Man at Arms was okay. He was a little corny. Tila was just, she looked great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but come on, that.
I don't know.
There's
Maybe
not
I'm
much
seeing his
substance there.
performance through rose-colored glasses, but just like everyone else was so bad around him, he just stood out to me.
I thought Man at Arms was decent in Eternia. And those couple scenes when he's in Eternia, I think he was decent because he was all business there. When he got to Earth, man, they made him too nice. And
Good journey.
Yeah.
Good journey.
Yeah.
I always think of him every time I see him. I think James Cromwell. He looks just like friggin' James Cromwell, kept a foot shorter. So
Watching this made me want to go back and rewatch Frost Nixon though.
But what's funny is you mentioned Frank Langella because you can't tell who he is underneath all that makeup, right? The same thing happened in Thor: Dark World with Christopher Eccleston. They take this classically trained, great actor and they stick him under so much makeup, no one knows who he is. Why they even use him? Because I don't know.
Yeah. Dark Elf. Yeah. All right, you ready, Kenny?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, not much. There's only 4 here, so 2.5 from Kavi. Oh no, I'm sorry, 5. 2 from the Biggie. 1.5 from Steve Whiting. 2.5 from Russ, and I guess 1 from Chad. He keeps doing the 0.9 thing,
Yeah.
Y290. I got a feeling it's going to be that the whole time. So that's it.
That's a 2. It's rounded up to 2 for this round.
All right.
Man,
Well, pretty much what we have.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Miracle, did you give it a 1 or a 1.5? I was confused there.
1.
1. Okay. All right.
With a caveat. But
With a
Caveat,
Okay.
but overall 1.
All right.
okay, so this
I
movie
don't
starting
necessarily disagree. I'm just wondering.
the movie's starting off a little weak. So let's see if it can raise itself from this quagmire that it's in. So we're gonna move on to what I think might help salvage some of the scores here, and that's the production quality of this movie. Grand set designs and sweeping vistas. Well, not so much sweeping vistas, sweeping matte paintings in a few shots, but so we'll go ahead and lead off with Metarog in this category. Metarog, what's your idea about the production value? How did you like the overall look of this movie?
Well, I wasn't crazy about the overall look for various reasons, but there were some positives, I suppose. Obviously, one thing that I really just dislike is that I never got to see Snake Mountain. I never got to see the snake pit, the slime pit. I didn't get to see a lot of the Eternia that you see in the animated feature. You see kind of a dark scene with in the beginning with the battles, and you can't tell if Eternia is as big as Earth or if it's as big as a couple blocks. I mean, they just show such a truncated area. I really wish that they would have done a little more expansive, even if it was cheesy effects. At least give me something more of Eternia. You see kind of a generic throne room. It wasn't even very garish like a throne room you would think would be, but at least it was somewhat Eternia-like. the scenes in Earth, the stage there. I mean, it looked like something from back in the future. My gosh, Back to the Future. Sorry, and it was so generic and it looked so staged. There weren't people walking around. It didn't look like a normal town at all. You would drive up to the house and there would be like nothing around. I mean, it'd just be like it's almost like an isolation. Obviously, they didn't spend a lot of money on extras because you rarely saw them. The laser effects were not that good. They're for 1987, I guess. Okay, sort of. The portal music stuff. Sometimes they were looking so far below it that they obviously did not have a lot of editing skills there, because when they turned on that cosmic key, sometimes they were looking way below where the lights were, and that looked really cheesy too, that effect. What else? The sky sleds, you could see the shadowing around them where obviously they're behind a green screen. So not the best. I mean, I understand that most of the budget went to the actors, I'm assuming. Langella was kind of a name. Lundgren was kind of a name. Billy Barty, Meg Foster. But, the effects were really, really lowbrow stuff. The costumes were also pretty off. I mean, the Eternians were too muted. They should have been much more colorful, although I guess for this movie, if that was the case, it would make them bigger targets. So I understand that. But the troopers were like just clones of stormtroopers. The music sounded to me like Superman. The plot was, the kind of a Conan-like character and the He-Man there. So his costume was really not that correct. It was, again, too dark. Guys, I'm struggling with this because I realize it's budgetary mostly, but I can't give this any more than a 2.
All right, 2 from Metarog. Wow, that's just not even barely serviceable. But I don't know. We'll see. I might have to disagree with you a little bit on that, but we'll get to that. Oh, actually, we'll get to it next, because I'm going to go next.
All right.
So, all right, let me see here. Let me get this timer pulled up here so I don't ramble on too long, as I want to do, and get another picture picked out, and we will roll with it. But I'm trying to find a good example of a costume here. You have to be careful. All these pictures that come up are not exactly fit for TV. I'll wait till I'm not actually talking. So anyway.
I'm shocked,
You gotta be careful when you type things in. Here's a good one. Here, I'll put this one up. It's better looking in my face. So, all right. So production values. I'm gonna have to vehemently disagree with you somewhat here. I think they did a very admirable job for the amount of budget that they had. Some really huge sets. A lot of people don't know this. The throne room, I think, was the biggest interior set that had ever been done at that point, or since like the 50s when they did the big sweeping, Ben-Hur type movies. Mm-hmm. So it was a massive, massive set. And I love the look of the throne room. It looks, I mean, it's obviously a stage, but it just looks like a villain's lair. I think that's so cool, man. I like the look of it a lot. You're right. Once it gets back to small town USA, it's like it's a graveyard, man. There's no other people around. You got the shop owner, the one cop, and you see more of them later, and then 2 teenagers, and that's all that lives in that town. The streets are completely dead, but maybe it is all set at night. Small towns, they go to bed early, generally speaking. So I don't know. I think it looks great. The costumes look really good. I think some of the makeup effects on Skeletor, it's hard to make it look realistic, but I think it did a pretty good job with it. I mean, it's a tough character if you think about it to do with it before CG was around, with touch-ups. And they had to have a prosthetic that would move, as he talked to, so it didn't look completely rubberized. So I love the peripherals on the costumes. His staff looks amazing. Evelyn's costume looks pretty good. Beastman, I think, looks really good. Everything is darker, but I think it kind of fits the theme. It's a live action, and it's supposed to be a little bit darker than the cartoon, you know what I mean? More realistic. And like you were saying, they bigger targets on the battlefield if they were all brightly shorn in colors. And it's a planet at war, right? So you got to think, of course, He-Man should probably be wearing more armor than he is, but that's in keeping with the cartoon. So, and it lets us see Dolph Lundgren's pecs more or more better. Yeah, much better. I got so tongue tied thinking about them. So it makes for good posters for the teenage girls too. So for a sword, what was that, loincloth and sorcery kind of movie, I think it looks really good. Some of the vehicles look kind of cool. Gwildor, for as much as I don't like the character, he's a really good, like, envisions character. I mean, his mouth seems to move fairly naturally. His ears are always moving around with his different moods. I don't like his design, but that doesn't mean it's not well done. So yeah, Man at Arms and Tila's outfit's really the biggest letdown for me. They're just really boring. It looks like something you see in what was her name? Tony, the one who's saying Mickey. I can't remember the last name.
Basil.
Tony Basil. That's right. It looks like something out of one of her videos. But other than that, I just think it looks good. The lighting is pretty decent. I like to look at the Cosmic Key. You know, those things go for like $6,000. You can buy an original one. Supposedly, there's like 5 or 6 of them that were made. I'd love to get one myself because I think it looks cool. But yeah, the effect is kind of cheesy. The light that comes above it. I mean, it's the '87, so there's no CGI. So, well, there was, but there was like Tron movies and stuff like that. Too big a production for this. So I don't know. I'm probably going to disagree with a lot of people here, but I think the sets look great. They're big sweeping sets, at least on Eternia and the throne room and stuff. Once they're stuck in like the little shops in the gym, yeah, it looks kind of lame. But I think everyone realized pretty cool. And even the snake henchman, he looked cool, but he didn't get enough screen time, unfortunately. But only costume I really didn't like a lot, the Man at Arms and Tila, was Blades. His was really goofy looking. That was obviously just all pasted together. Supposedly it weighed like 60 pounds or something like that. So credit for the stuntman, or Anthony DeLongis, the swordsman who played that role. So I'm gonna give this a 4.0. I think this is how movies make the best of what they're given. You know, it's like, okay, you got $3 million budget or $10 million budget, make it happen. And I think they gave it as much grandeur as they possibly could. And heck, even the cracked troops back there, at least they were consistent. They look pretty cool. I like them in black better than the white stormtroopers. You know, they don't show up as well against the screen, but 4.0 for me. I like to look at the movie.
Wow. Okay.
Strong score from Gino.
Make some good points.
So now we're about to find out if there's some dissent, because there's already been dissent among 2 of us. So, Dave, what's your thought? Was this movie a looker, or was it a bag over the head special?
Oh my God, the production value in this movie is horrible. Like you know, they had $22 million budget, right? Which was a big budget in 1987. And you mentioned Tron. Tron had a $17 million budget. And look what they did with that, which $5 million less than whatever happened to this. Like the green screens effects were cheesy. Like 1987, they can do a lot better than that. The costumes were good, minus Man at Arms. I gotta agree with you. Man at Arms costume was terrible. Tila, hers was a costume. I guess they didn't want to put her in like the Tila costume from the cartoons, maybe a little too revealing. So that was fine. But yeah, the costumes were good. There were a few standout sets, like the throne room was like, oh, but then only in close-ups sort of scenes. As soon as they panned out in that throne room, I got very much a soundstage kind of feel from it, right? Like I was like, no, something's weird here, right? Like it just didn't work right. What else was going on? Like the little character, like the makeup. Oh yeah, we'll mention the makeup. Skeletor's makeup was awful. Like it looked so obvious that it was a rubber mask. Every time he talked, his eye sockets flexed, right? Like if I talked, my eyeballs flex. No, like they needed to put some separation in there. They could do a lot better special effects makeup than that in 1987. Don't say it's the times. We're not talking the 50s here. We're talking 1987. All of us were alive at that point. Even Comic Head 84, he may have been, going to daycare at the time. So like, no, production value in this movie, awful. Looks like it was shot on a Super 8. The soundtrack was good, but again, like it was played well, and the movie and the soundtrack kind of fit, except for some weird 80s stuff that they suddenly threw in there, like 80s tunes. I was like, it was kind of jolting because generally the soundtrack was a symphony, but even I don't know, but it did feel like ripped off of other movies, right? Like it wasn't a unique kind of soundtrack. It was very much ripped off from other movies. Yeah, like I said, besides a few costumes and a few special effects, some tight scenes that did look good, the rest of it was terrible. When they're like coming onto Earth through that portal with all the stormtroopery kind of guys and stuff, I was like it looked like he at first, wait, how many guys did he bring with him? Like 5 or 6? No, okay, well maybe we got a few, and they're all coming out of this obviously green screen portal in the middle of the street. The vehicles didn't really seem right. Like I wanted to see Skeletor in like his flying bone-based car kind of thing. Yeah, I was not happy with the production values of this movie. I think one of the reasons that this movie is so terrible is the production value really is off-putting. Like they could have done much, much better with the amount of money they had. If you think 30 years ago, they could like $22 million. That's like having a $50-60 million budget this time, right? Well, maybe not that much, but like 40 or so. And I know lots of movies out there that have way, way less budget than that are way better with much better special effects. So overall production value in this movie, sticking with my 1. I'm going to give it the 1. And I missed Cringer. They could have had a Cringer in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, we had to work a Cringer in there, or actually that's Battle Cat.
Battle Cat is Cringer.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, Cringer, didn't he look different too before he switched into Battle Cat? I don't think he was green and striped. Wasn't he like purple or something before he transformed?
No, purple was.
He got like the saddle and the.
Yeah,
I know he put the helmet and stuff on, but
yeah, he was still green. Yeah,
he's still green. He just grew armor.
What's up, D-Runk? He says, just got here. I'm assuming we've been trashing this for the last hour.
I'll have to make another highlight clip out of this one. So
yeah.
And for those who haven't seen it,
yeah.
There's a great Mr. Miracle clip on my channel too, so be sure to watch that one. Yeah, like I said, you won't be disappointed, but make sure the kids are in bed. So, all right. So we have one final grader here that needs to give their opinion of the sets and production values. So, Mr. Kenny, what is your thoughts on how how this movie looked? Was it meeting all your expectations, or was it basically 2 hours at the DMV?
I gotta keep it real, man. It was better than I thought it was gonna be. I kind of lean more with Genome on this one. I thought, for the most part, the costumes were legit. It's just the parts where they failed at were pretty bad. Like, one thing that across the board I did not like was people's mouths did not move well when they, like, Skeletor's mouth triggered the hell out of me during this whole movie. It never quite matched. I wish they just put like a prosthetic skull. I just wish I would have preferred a motionless skull, like almost like a skull mask that didn't move and just his voice came out of it, than what they ended up doing. You can see like the mesh netting over his nose openings when they got close. It was pretty embarrassing. So Skeletor's face was a real low light. But I feel like I was taking the times into account. I kind of like a little cheesiness in my older movies, so I was kind of having fun with it. I mean, when you guys had mentioned it wasn't that long ago, I was looking at like what movies came out in '87. So like RoboCop, Superman 4, Hellraiser. I think if we went back to those movies, I don't think it would be like, something too extravagant. I think we'd be looking at some fairly lower level budget CSI, effects type stuff. So I wasn't all that mad at it. There was a really cool scene when my boo, Eva Lynn, she was like, went to the crime scene and was using a scanner to like scan the area where they had battled prior. And it showed the past basically of that area. I thought that was really cool tech. I don't think that was anything that happened in the He-Man lore. So I think they came up with that for the movie. I thought that was really clever. I like that scene a lot. That looked pretty sharp. So I thought that was nice. All the villains I thought were cool. I don't know if you can find that guy with he looked crazy, but he had good face makeup. The little dude with like almost like Motley Crue. It was like a cross between Motley Crue and like Peggy Bundy hair. It was like that big old wig on his head.
Yep. Yeah.
That guy was nuts. But his face articulated pretty well. There was the horrible scene when He-Man gets on his little surfboard thing and pursues the bad guys. Oh, that was so bad. So bad. But again, there were a few moments where they were probably a little too ambitious with the budget that they had. But, for a lot of it, I felt like for the era, it didn't look too terrible. I wouldn't give it as high as... Oh, and by the way, I've heard some people mocking the end, like Super Saiyan Skeletor at the end when he's wearing all that gold stuff. I thought that was badass, I gotta say. I was like, oh, he looks pretty cool. Like God mode Skeletor. I thought it was pretty cool armor. So, with all that being said, I didn't go as high as Gino with a 4, but I did feel like it was a little above average for, again, the time and what they were trying to do. I fell on a 3 for the effects or the production.
Wow.
All right, 3 for the production. Not bad,
We're
not
all
bad.
over the place on this.
Yeah. There's some definite disagreement on the panel this evening.
Yeah.
You are right about one thing. That skiff hoverboard scene was like really reminiscent of Highlander 2. Just awful. Looked awful. It drug on forever and a day. Yeah, that was painful to watch. That might have been the
when it
painful
takes
part
off,
of the movie.
it looked nuts. I was like,
It was
oh
awful.
my God.
The freaking Lunger looking like a ninja turtle. He's like, he just stood there like a freaking mannequin, man. It was so hilarious.
Oh, man.
But all right.
I did like the gold Skeletor. I liked it a lot.
What's that?
Yeah.
I like the costume, the gold Skeletor. Like I said, the costume stood out
Yeah.
for me. They were actually good.
Yeah, Gold Skeletor.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, I was trying to find a good picture of it.
Yeah.
But his face, as it probably took away from the acting performance. How I was always distracted with how bad his face looked when he was on screen.
Yeah, I agree with that. It did look distracting, and you're right. The lips didn't sync with the words
No.
most of the time. It did here and there, but
And and part of that too is you go in there with expectations because most of the fans know what Skeletor looks like from the comics and the cartoons. So you want him to look exactly like that, and that just wasn't feasible back then. So
Yeah, wouldn't you have just settled for a skull mask that stayed stationary and just have him talk through it? That would have just spend the money to craft a really cool looking skull mask and just take it from there.
yeah, they could even done it like it was just a warlord's mask, like Shao Kahn or something, or it just comes down. They could have made him human, like a regular Turnian, like everybody else. But yeah, so that part was a little distracting.
Yeah,
but
it didn't look like a skull. It just looked like maybe
like melted wax almost.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Michael Jackson towards the end.
Michael Jackson.
A very weird look.
Hyperbaric chamber and all. So, all right. So, chat, it is time for your voices to be heard. Let's see some grades out there. What do you think about the production values of this movie, to include things like set design, music, costumes, that sort of thing? So, let your voice be heard and cast your votes now while we ramble on aimlessly for about a minute or two.
This should be interesting because they certainly can't piggyback off any of us because we're four very different opinions.
Yeah, what were the 4 grades? So I had 3,
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Graders notes first.
I tell you.
It was a weird direction they took this movie to with how much tech they had involved. Because in the cartoons and the comic book, it's much heavier on sorcery than tech. They wrote animals around and they had cards.
There's a lot of tech in He-Man. It's that was kind of the cool things about He-Man was that it was like both, right?
This one they seem to lean much more heavily on the tech, though, which kind of was unfortunate. I think it was kind of unfortunate that they did as much as they did, but they did want to do Battle Cat, by the way, but it wasn't not working out with
I knew that
the production.
wasn't gonna happen, No Panther, no Battle Cat.
Like we were talking about before the show a little bit, they are going to try and reboot this, right? So it's supposed to be a 2021 release.
Oh yeah.
maybe we'll do an updated review on that.
So
after it
who's
comes
going to
out.
play He-Man now?
It's
They
that
can make it The Rock.
Yeah, I'll try to find him. No, it's some young kid.
is it,
All right.
or is it maybe
We're in.
maybe it's 2020 release. They better get on it if it is. No, it's probably 2021. It's too late for that. 2020.
Yeah, Russ says he actually liked the costumes, but the sex and effects bring it down. Yeah. The costumes weren't terrible. I mean, I think Evil Liz was pretty good, and Beastman was okay.
Beastman looked
But
pretty
the other
good.
henchmen were just. I really wanted Trapjaw. I really wanted Merman, and I got these clowns. So.
How can you bit?
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the comics.
I know. All right, Kenny, here we go.
Yes, I'm ready.
1 from George D. Runk, 2 from Biggie, 3 from Joe, 2 from Steve Whiting, and 2.5 from Russ. So they're kind of all over the place too. Oh man,
That's a 2.
that's a 2. All right.
And
I
Gino,
won't
if
say
you
it,
wanna-
but somebody in this panel had 2. I won't say who.
Gino, if you want to show that screen, that's who they're casting for He-Man. If people are curious,
Oh, sorry about that. Let's see.
it's okay. This fella,
What in the hell is that?
Noah Centineo.
God.
Yeah.
I've already lost all interest in the production.
And have you guys ever seen these commercials with these guys?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty
Pictures
funny.
is all I
Yeah, I
see.
figured. I don't know if it's like Geico, but they're pretty well done actually. These 2 guys. Skeletor looks badass. Yeah, it's worth the watch. You gotta
That
watch
That hairdo is.
That's He-Man? Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See dance in the ad. It's some kind of ad, but they're like pretty long commercials. And Skeletor like wears shades. It's really weird, but they look better there than they do in the movie.
Yeah, definitely looks like He-Man.
That bowl cut just does not translate to live action.
Yeah, the Prince Albert or whatever it is.
Just does not. Hey, did you read what D-Runk put here?
Yeah, I'm putting it up on screen now.
Okay. Woo! So I'm going way back here. My elementary school had a bathroom in each classroom. I figured that if the door was closed, no one would hear me. I decided to belt out, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!" It wound up being pretty embarrassing. LOL.
Yeah, as you blow up the freaking toilet afterwards. That's not where you invite the power of Grayskull in. Better hope it's an American standard. That thing's going to
coming from under
explode.
the door.
That's funny.
That's a way not to ever meet Tila, that's for sure.
They could just done the cartoon He-Man saying it over top of Lundgren. It would have been fine. He was terrible when he said that. I have the power. What?
I think he said it twice too. Eventually,
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
The second
that
time
was
he said it's like, I
pretty
have
cringe.
the power. It's like no emotion. I have the power. I got it.
P-Runk.
They should just pulled it out and had the effects go off. He did not need to say it. I know that's how he transformed in the movies, but he was He-Man all the time in this movie, so he didn't have to transform.
Fair
So that
enough.
was pretty
There
redundant.
was no Prince Adam, so
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Sorry about that. Yeah, fun fact about the movie too is the final fight scene, which seems pretty rushed and grainy looking. It's because it was shot in one day. Actually, they weren't even going to shoot it because all the production or the money was all gone, and they had to go beg to get another day of shooting out of it. So they did the
Wow.
final fight scene, which is not actually Frank Langella. It's the guy who plays Blade, Legondis or Legondis, something like that. Legondis, huh? He's not yellow. And then the underwater tank scene, that was all done in like one day. So kudos to them. They got that done too. But yeah, that's why it looks so bad at the end.
I mean, where did their money go? Like,
Well, I mean, look at
Down the
I mean,
drain.
look at Waterworld. I mean, they went how many almost like $100 million over budget, whatever it was. So it can go out crazy. Now they had excuses because they're out in the wild doing stuff, but
like that film almost sunk the studio that produced Waterworld because it was like such a big crazy thing. But these guys had $22 million. Lucas made Empire Strikes Back for $18 million.
Yep.
Right? Like, and look at the special effects that are in there. Look at the crazy amount of work that they put into the special effects in Empire.
And that was before this.
And that was before.
That was
yeah.
1980.
Yeah. Yeah, they cared about that movie. You could tell the team cared
Yeah.
that made Star
that's
Wars.
my
Well, that
favorite Star
Dagobah
Wars
set by
movie.
itself was worth the price of admission, so that was just incredible.
All
and
right,
huge.
let's get this dog over with, can we?
All right, so this dog will hunt. So next up, we're coming to source accuracy. So I bet this is where it's going to take a pretty quick header off of what little positivity we had. So I'll go ahead and lead this one off, I guess. Give me 1 second here. And timer is on. So source material and how accurate was it? Well, as in many live action reimaginings of the movie, this takes the most of the source material and throws it out the window and just gives the names to the characters. You know, they mention Eternity a few times, but you barely see it. So many of the aspects are different. You know, there's no Prince Adam, there's no Battle Cat, of course. You know, you don't see too many of the good guys or the bad guys are the main ones. Just lots of crack troops, which are the robots, which were just there for He-Man to kill, because he wasn't allowed to kill anybody like real. I mean, they made Skeletor a little less cackling and a little more less of a stereotypical bad guy than he was in the cartoon. But they kind of kept some of his traits, his megalomania and all that was very evident. So that they kept fairly good. And he had a little bit of sorcery powers too, which was also in keeping with the source material. The sorceress, we don't really know what her role is, but she's in there too. So if you didn't know what the source material was, you have no idea how important she was to the whole mythos of the story and what her connection with Grayskull was and all. You know, they got the names and they got the faces in there, but I mean, that's it. This could be any action movie, you know. They could have named it something else, you know, or Tron, you know, in Eternia, and it would have worked, you know, with no glowy suits. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like He-Man. that's the only thing I can say about it. It doesn't feel like He-Man. It could be any action movie back then. I guess maybe there were some limitations because of technology and all, but that's not going to be the entire excuse for the movie. It was just missing something, and a lot of it was inexcusable because they had so much history to go from. How many seasons of the cartoon ran? How many different of the mini comics had come out? And they incorporated almost none of it. You know, what was Man-at-Arms mannerisms? You know, if he hadn't mentioned that he was Teela's dad in like one little scene, you would never know the connection there. They made up a new greeting and farewell. They just went out of their way to change everything mythos involved at this movie for reasons I can't comprehend. So yeah, it kicked off in its own direction, and I guarantee if they had gotten the costumes a little bit differently and it didn't put the name on the poster and the title screen, that people would not know this is a Masters of the Universe movie. Of course, Skeletor might give it away a little bit. He looks so different from the cartoon too. They might not even know that other than his staff. So yeah, this movie took a wild detour away from the source material and once again focused way too much on the two teenagers. This is supposed to be Masters of the Universe. You know, He-Man should be front and center, and he is in all the comics for the most part, and in the cartoons, and he's like a third tertiary character at this point. He's called on for an action scene every now and then he's gone again for 20 minutes. So yes, as far as source accuracy, it ranks real low. They got a few character traits for like Skeletor, right, and a little bit with Evil Lyn, but other than that, I have to give it like 1.5. It just they kind of tried, but at the same time, they sure didn't try at all. They turned it into like a Spielberg small town, you know, get out of destruction kind of movie, like they did with Gremlins and all that. And it doesn't work with He-Man. So yeah, 1.5. They kind of shat all over the source accuracy on this movie.
Yeah. Can't disagree with much of anything you said there.
Yeah.
It's a shame too because it had so much promise. I mean, hopefully, maybe the new one will try a little harder because I think people are more accepting of camp now than they were back then. You know, back then it was unintentional camp a lot. Now I think people can take the little more tongue-in-cheek style. Look how popular Deadpool was and all that. So I think audiences might be a little more receptive to, you know, Prince Adam and looking as ridiculous as he does, as in Cringer and all that. So, but so Dave, what do you say? Do you concur with me, or do you think I am way off in left field, like the obviously the writers were in this movie?
Well, I don't think the writers ever read anything about He-Man or asked anybody really about He-Man. They just kind of got probably a script treatment saying, you know, there's these three characters. Here's a little picture of each of them. Write a story, because they didn't touch on the source material hardly at all. Like, skipped over Eternia. They didn't have the cool, like, they had a couple of He-Man's buddies, Man at Arms and Tila, but when it came to Skeletor's guys, they made up a bunch of guys, and I was like, well, don't they have a lot of really cool guys already made? Yeah, we had the Beastman, but that was it, right? Like, where's Trapjaw? What was the guy with the three faces? That kind of stuff.
Manny
Evil
Faces.
Man, of course, was there. Man of many faces, right? Like, they had tons of characters they could have picked from for those bounty hunter kind of role. So they didn't bother with that. Like I said, we're not even on Eternia. They hardly mention Eternia. I guess a lot of it's because He-Man's not really in the movie. He probably gets about 10 minutes worth of movie in here. Because that key thing never existed in Eternia. Why they wouldn't use Orko, and like you said, do magic. Skeletor, he had some pretty limited magic, I guess, but generally it wasn't like you really didn't get the feel like he was some sort of really big wizard. He was just kind of like an evil guy, and then like the only magic you saw was when he like zapped a guy into disappearance. You know what I mean? Just basically green screen effect where they're like, okay, everybody hold that pose for a second. You walk off set. Okay, now he's gone. Right? Like, I wish they had brought in anything like no Cringer, right? No Cringer. That sucks. No Panther. The vehicles were all different. There was no Snake Mountain, really, right? Like, there was the throne room little scene there. But it would have been cool to see Snake Mountain. Would have been cool to like have the story revolving around Castle Grayskull in some way. The story, the sorceress, the girl in white there. She didn't do anything. I mean, she doesn't really do anything in the comic books either, other than just kind of hang out at Castle Grayskull. She does stuff once in a while, but I mean, man, they could have put in way more of the comic book material, and this would have been way more appealing to fans, that's for sure. Right? So, did they use some of the source of the comic material? Yeah, but then they even changed those characters. Man at Arms' costume was different. He-Man wasn't Prince Adam. He-Man sucked in general. So, overall, for sticking to source materials, I'm going to give it my highest score today at a 2. Just because they actually had a guy named He-Man. But other than that, like, he was hardly He-Man. I would have thought he was just a guy in a fur bikini, bikini briefs, unless they kept calling him He-Man at some point. So, yeah, I'll stick with the 2, but yeah, they didn't really do a real good job of that.
Yeah, it was definitely weaker, and I can't believe no one mentioned it, but I can't believe they included the greatest villain of all time, Fisto. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Fisto? You don't remember Fisto? Him and Ram Man, man.
Him and
Actually,
Ram
that
Man
sounds
were
really
always at
bad,
that,
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Man. Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they didn't include him.
Merman was an A-lister compared to those guys, so yeah.
Yeah.
Mandy Faces. They had some great wordplay with their toy line.
Stratos, yeah.
All right, so 2 from Mr. Miracle. So Kenny, what's your take on the source accuracy of this movie? I mean, did you look at this movie and think He-Man, 1983 cartoon, or do you look at this movie and say, a cut and paste? So, what's your take on it?
Right. If they bleeped out the names as they were saying each other's names throughout the movie, and I watched that, there's a chance I may not have picked up that it was a He-Man movie. If they weren't saying, hey, Skeletor, hey, He-Man, I could have probably watched the whole thing and just watched the plot unfold and not had any idea, which is going to severely slash this grade of source material. They should have never went to Earth, like Mr. Miracle said right in the opening. You put this movie on Eternia, they just made it something else, straight up, just made it their own thing, totally strayed. Figured out how to do Battle Cat, all right? Like you said, they did Star Wars what is it, 7 years earlier, and you can't paint a fucking tiger green, brother, and put some stripes on it? Come on, man. He doesn't have lines. Just paint a tiger green and let him chill there. That's it. At least. So that was a huge fail. Again, they should have. If they couldn't make the movie centered around Eternia, they shouldn't have made the movie. He-Man himself was a bum. And that was probably the biggest disappointment, is that they should have known Dolph Lundgren was not going to do this role any justice. He didn't act like He-Man. He looked like he was kind of like a Conan knockoff, really, and like a poor man's Conan. So, granted, I'm probably not as in-depth knowledgeable about the He-Man universe as you guys may be. Like, I was a little late to, like, I didn't catch He-Man while it was like airing or anything, but I did catch. I've seen some cartoons. Toys was probably my biggest exposure to it. So I don't know the deep mythology of a lot of the stuff. So I don't, there were no deep cuts that I was looking for that didn't show up. Just the basic stuff, man. I know He-Man didn't happen on Earth, and I know he transformed from, what was his name? Prince Albert?
Adam.
Prince Adam to
Prince Albert. He could have been Prince Albert.
Oh, that's what I call his haircut, the Prince Albert. Not the Prince Albert in the can joke,
man.
but
Yeah, I was trolling on that one. But he should have transformed from the Prince to He-Man. Like, that's a basic thing. So it was all really bad on the source material. I'm going to give so many egregious things that made this not a He-Man movie. I think that sums it up. Of if I didn't hear them refer to each other by name, I probably wouldn't have known this is a He-Man movie. And for that reason, it gets a 0.5 for source. It's totally disgusting.
Wow, that's the lowest grade you've ever given, my friend.
I think it is, man. I was disgusted.
0.5.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, they didn't. Like I said, the only reason I gave it any kind of grade on that one was because they actually named some characters from
yeah. He-Man was in it.
He-Man was in it. There was a guy with a skeleton face. That's pretty good.
Oh.
I mean,
just
I grew up on the cartoon.
Missed opportunity.
So, yeah.
I think
it was
because it's such a missed opportunity. Like, they could have figured something out better than this.
They could have done such a better job of this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. So
Roger.
Yep. What's your take on this movie? Did you think it stuck to the source material well, or are you in agreement with us that it kind of went off its rails and went its own damn direction?
Well, let me just start by saying that I was one of I think of all of us, I actually saw this movie, quote unquote, at the theater way back when. And again, I was a little old to collect the toys, but I really enjoyed the animated features and the comics. I had a lot of the mini comics, and they came with the toys, but I generally my nephews would get the toys, I'd get the comics off of them, because they'd only want Battle Cat, they'd only want Stratos, they'd only want Orko, etc. So when I went in there, I was filing my teeth. I was like, all right, finally we got something here, live action, something more adult oriented, because I was at that point in my about 20 or so. And boy, the disappointment was so palpable and so incredibly immense when I walked out of that theater after seeing this, that I never saw the movie again until this past weekend, because it was just that disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can add a lot to what you guys have already said. It looks to me like whoever put this together had some kind of notion as to what the characters look like, and a few key phrases and a few characterizations, but they either couldn't or wouldn't put them in the correct context that they were supposed to be done to keep it not only logically, but when you think about the title, it's He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and we get neither. Okay, we get Conan and the Bumbling Fools, and essentially that is what it should have been called. There's a He-Man in it, and he semi looks the part. I think Teela's in it. She doesn't really look the part, but at least they got Man-at-Arms. Those three were together throughout most of the episodes. The Sorceress didn't look anything like it. She was too old, and just looked way out of character to me. The Eternia Castle, kind of looked to me a bit lameish, but at least it had some kind of semblance to Eternia. But no Catherine Grayskull, no characters that we had they collected, no Merman, no Battle Cat, no Pampas, no Orko. At least you could have had a scene when they went back to Eternia and you see Orko with Cringer. Something. Give me something to sing that I could at least say this is a He-Man movie. But again, other than Evelyn being somewhat in character, Skeletor having a fairly good grasp of him, although his Havoc staff was way underpowered. He almost defeated He-Man many times with that thing. And it was just, he could only zap this one henchman. Very disappointing, guys. I give it a 2, and only because, when you're so desperate in the mid '80s to get anything nerdy like, at least we got this. But man, they could have. I would have rather seen a pastiche of the animated features from back in 1983 than this thing. But as it is, I just give it a 2. And I'm shrugging my shoulders thinking, why not a 1?
I think, well, actually, I'll say that for the grading time. So, all right. So we got a 2 from Metarog. So, all right. 5th grader, it's your turn. Cast your votes. Let your voices be heard, and we will tabulate them shortly. This reminds me, I don't know if any of you guys are fans of the Hellraiser series.
Yeah, big time.
But a lot of the direct to video Hellraiser movies were not actually Hellraiser movies when they started. They just basically cut and pasted the Hellraiser characters into them and then sold it on the name. That's what this movie reminds me of. I think they had some sort of generic sword and sorcerer movie kind of thought up. Maybe the writers had thought up a while ago and never really had a good, idea for it to push it. And then someone saw it, it's like, hey, this will work for He-Man. We had a He-Man project we were told to work on. And then they just shoved it in there because there's so much stuff that's different. That's what this reminds me of. I think this maybe probably started as something else, and then they just pasted He-Man on it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh, it definitely is weird. Like, they totally just tried to play up the name and then do whatever movie they had, and they'll be like, the name will draw people in. We'll make millions, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, couldn't agree. Like, Roger, you hit the nail on the head with a lot of the stuff you were saying there. Like, I too, sir, saw this in the theater. I was 12 years old, I believe, at the time. And big fan of He-Man when you're 12 years old. Of course, the toys were big and everything. So I had lots of the He-Man toys bought right off the shelf. And I remember being really disappointed with this at 12, thinking, like, what the hell was that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Remember my mom dropping me and my buddy Phil off at the movie theater and going to watch this and being like, that was awful, dude.
Yeah. I didn't get to see this one in the theater. I was 11, I think, when this movie came out. And I remember I was a little bit disappointed, too, because you go in there, because once again, you have so much source material to go from. Not only were you reading a comic book, you saw a live-action comic or a cartoon.
Yeah.
So you know how stuff moves, you know what their character traits are, you know what their voices are supposed to sound like, and then you go and see this. It's like, oh, man.
And
how could they?
With just a little more effort, just a little more attention to detail. There's no reason why Blade couldn't be Trapjaw. There's no reason why that lizard guy couldn't be Merman. There's no reason they couldn't make one little scene in Eternia, where they return to Eternia and have some of the iconic, the king and the queen. They just totally, and it was unnecessary. Just a little bit of effort would have gone a long way.
Like even Grildor, like, make him Orko. Like, he doesn't have to float. Billy Barty was, I believe, a Jawa in Star Wars. He probably still has the costume. Just put that on him and let him fucking
Yeah,
around
right.
the roll, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just make
Call him
it
Marco.
red, paint that little O on his chest, and
Yeah.
away you go.
Give him a
I mean, I'll
funny
say,
hat. Good.
yeah, I'll say this. I mean, I don't like the fact that they changed and put so many generic henchmen in there. I'll say at least they look pretty good. I mean, like Beastman and the Lizard Guy, I think look pretty decent. It's just a shame that they couldn't use the main guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if the movie's goofy anyway. Oh, they afraid it's not be for adults.
I mean, the fact that He-Man is a supporting character is one of the main reasons I had to like really trash that grade. It's like, how dare you make He-Man a side character and you casted a dude who can barely speak English? Like, you know, he's not going to be able to deliver any lines. Like, Courtney Cox is the lead of a He-Man movie. Think about it. Let that sink in.
No,
He-Man has to be the star of his own movie, and he's not.
God.
Central role.
all right, guys,
But,
let's get going because I'm getting upset as we speak here.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's go ahead and tabulate, shall we?
Ready? You ready, Kenny?
Yeah, I think I can see them all
Don't
on one
expect filet
screen
mignon
here.
here.
Yeah,
There's
1.5, 0,
1.5, 0, 1, 1, and 2.
1, 1, 2. So yeah, it's gonna be a 1.
Oh, you got the 1.5 from Russ?
Yes. Yep. That makes it a 1.
Oh, and comic book NYC got 1.5 too.
Oh, okay. So
Is that
he
does that
did
move it up any,
1.5.
or-
So
Yeah.
yeah, well, 5. He said 1.5.
Yeah.
Orko was rubbish. I had most of the toys, but I hated the cartoon and watched the film once on pirate video.
Pirate
I'm a
video.
great man. Good one, great man.
Our
Orko
alumnus.
was rubbish, but he was better than Grildor.
Actually, it made a 1 1/4, 1.25. So I say let's round down to
Yeah.
1.
One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why
That's
not?
fair.
Why not?
All right. Well, we got
Overall,
the cat grade in, and they gave it a similarly low score. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our final category, which is the overall. So we're going to start this category with the person who led off the entire show. So, Mr. Miracle, why don't you take Cringer right there and shove a big old dose of He-Man right up our our waiting ear holes here? So, what do you give this for an overall score?
I mean, the overall of this movie, there's lots of pitfalls and lots of disappointing things. And I mean, they clickbait you with the poster was pretty good. Poster looks like this movie's going to be good. So they clickbait you with the poster and draw you into the theater and then shovel this. Oh, il est un cinema du fromage. You know, it is one hell of a cheesy movie, this thing.
Fromage.
You take into account the script. I gave it a 1. You take into account the production values and the cheesiest special effects that in 1987. I gave that a 1. You take the acting, with the exception of Skeletor, who I still like. I gave that a 1. We take the comic source material, which they completely ignored, other than naming their characters and their movie after it, and I give that a 2 just for the names. Add up all of those, and oh my God, you get a 5. I gave this movie a full-on 5, brother. I love cheesy movies like this, but you have to hit those ones on every single mark to hit the proper cheese. So yes, I'm going to go and find a Blu-ray of this movie and add it to my collection because, man, I haven't watched this movie in years until these guys brought it up. And I watched it and I was like, what have I been missing? Unbelievable. Definitely is now pushing into one of my top 10 favorite cheesy movies of all time. And I give it the full 5 for the overall du fromage.
Stunning turn of events.
Wow. Wow.
That's
It's like a
funny.
resurrection.
Love it. I might watch it again after we're done here tonight.
There's value to what he's saying. I mean, there's some movies that are so bad you just got to watch them and laugh and enjoy it. You know, a lot of the Friday the 13th movies I've been reviewing have been like that. I mean, these are not high art movies, you know, but I enjoy watching them. So I can shut my my vanity off for a while. Enjoy, yeah. Very magnifique.
3D is like, mwah, love that movie. Like, it is the
Très
cheap
bien.
of all. When he, pops that guy eye out. Anyways,
All
you have to
right.
be
Well,
surprised. My favorite movie of all time is Flash Gordon. The
That's a
cheesy.
much
I
better
just heard
movie.
Queen. Ugh.
That's a much better
Flash
movie.
Gordon, man.
Wait. You mean the 51 or the 81 one, whatever that movie year
The
that came
81
out?
one.
Okay.
I routinely watch that movie.
Sam
Bloodsport, another one of my most favorite of all time.
Ooh, Bloodsport's a fave for
I wonder
sure.
if I can do the Van Damme.
I see no parallel.
I didn't want to do
between
the
this
voice,
and those
too.
Movies, but okay.
Oh, best scene ever is when he gets the salt thrown in his eyes. Oh, that's acting right there, baby. Oh man, that's pantomime and mime. Très magnifique. So, all right, Kenny. After this amazing, like Hindenburg Titanic level change of events, what's your take on the overall score? Was this as monumentally great as Mr. Miracle just said, or was it just not so good?
I know what Miracle's saying about. I like a good cheese movie too, and sometimes the sum of the parts. It's like you can enjoy that. But if it was more faithful, I might lean more in that direction of embracing it. But the fact that it kind of really shits on the potential of what it could be, it makes me more salty. So the script. I gave the script a 2. In hindsight, I maybe should have put it lower, but I guess there was some high moments here and there. That I really love that dead bomb trick. I really love that. But yeah, the fact that they wrote in Courtney Cox and Keyboard Boy and brought him to Earth is what really sinks that script. The acting, I wasn't that mad at the acting. Most of the side characters. I thought did a good job. Man at Arms, cool. Evil Lily, as you know, Evil Lynn, MVP in my book. Man at Arms, solid. Is Dolph Lundgren sucked. Skeletor, underwhelming. But a lot of the side characters were cool. So the acting, I think calling it down the middle at 2.5. The big marquee actors, they should be carrying a lot of the movie. So the fact that those two characters were really bad. And that's right, Courtney Cox and the Keyboard Kid were really bad too. But most of the other supporting characters are decent. So I called that one down the middle. Production, I think I was cool with the production, kind of in the vein of, Miracle enjoying the campiness of it. I think part of it was I didn't come into it expecting really big budget, solid effects. And I did think it was going to be worse. I genuinely did. I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. Because I haven't seen this in a really long time. So it was almost like a fresh watch for me in a lot of ways. The only scene that I really remembered was that bucket of chicken scene, honestly. That's the only thing I could have. That one stuck in my mind for some reason. But a lot of this was almost like a fresh viewing. And yeah, I thought it was going to be worse. So that was okay. The source material, as you know, I really tanked it at a 0.5. So if I was to give this thing like an overall grade, it's just the fact that they call it a Masters of the Universe movie that I think if they didn't do that, I might grade it a little higher. But since they tried to pass it off as like a He-Man movie, let's go. I'll give it a 2. I'll leave it with a 2 for Masters of the Universe. No thanks to Dolph Lundgren. What's his name? How do you say his last name? Lundgren?
Lundgren.
Lundgren? I don't know.
Lundgren.
I'll have to ask him one day. Maybe I'll interview him one day. I'll ask him.
Lundgren.
I believe he's Swedish.
Yeah, he's Swedish.
No, I'm not sure.
I thought he was Russian. Wait.
No, he's Swedish. Or
He was Russian
kidding. Yes, I know he's
and Rocky, but
I know. Come on, that's what everyone knows him as. Oh, wasn't he in I Come in Peace as well?
Yes.
Wasn't he the bad guy in that?
That's terrible. Another terrible movie.
That's digging in deep to the 80s right there, baby. And you go in pieces. Great lines.
Johnny
I
Mnemonic.
need some Alka-Seltzer tonight, man.
That was Keanu Reeves, wasn't it, in that?
Yeah, but
Mnemonic.
Lundgren was the bad guy.
All right, so bad guys aside, Mr. Metarog, you're not a bad guy at all. You're a great guy. So what's your overall score for this movie? Was this a great time to be had by all for you to watch, or is this something you would punish your siblings with if if they did wrong against you?
I don't think I would wish this film on my worst enemy. Lena, like I said, I was disappointed back in 1987, but I'm thinking, well, it's 30 some years later. I'm hopefully more mature. I can look at things with a shall we say, a less critical eye as far as emotionally critical. It's worse than I thought, guys. The main thing is that, I see where Mr. Miracle's coming from. Like Plan 9 from Outer Space bad. Listen, I love Flash Gordon, Jason X, those movies that don't take themselves seriously, but have some forethought. They have some kind of fan homage. But this is boring. It's drab. It lingers. I think, what is this movie like? Is this movie like 5 hours long? It felt like it. I think it's an hour and a half, actually. I mean, it makes no sense. At the end, you knew what was going to happen. It was a Back to the Future twist, even though Gwildor didn't even know anything about that. How did he know to do that? There's large leaps in logic. Skeletor, the only person that could possibly defeat him is E-Man, and he says he doesn't want to kill him because he'd be a martyr. A martyr for who? There's nobody around in Eternia.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, to me, this is a big waste of time, guys. I mean, if you need to have a root canal, please do that rather than see this, because it's a more pleasurable experience, especially if you're such a fan of the animated series and the wonders of the sorcery and science meld and the synergy therein and the cackling Skeletor and the bumbling Orko. None of that, none of the sweetness, none of the aura of He-Man is here. This is not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in any way, shape, or form. I think if I take my grades, I think it's something less than a 2. I can't give this a 2, guys. I can't even put this close to a 2. I give it a 1.5, and that's only because, like I think Dave said, at least it had the characters in there that I was longing to see, and at least it has a few little good scenes with Evelyn and Skeletor. But don't see this movie, guys, unless you are absolutely bored out of your mind.
All right, 1.5. So far, the lowest of the scores among us. So, all right, Metarog. So obviously, this did not blow your skirt up. So I'll go ahead and I guess have the final word on this.
I had my kilt on at the time, yes.
Oh, well, it was a real nor'easter that flew up there then. Huh? All right, so what are my thoughts on this movie? I'm not going to go with the aggregate. I'm going to go ahead and score this myself because I think my score with the set design and production values, which most disagree with, I think it's going to throw it off too much. Dave is right about one thing. This thing has camp value in spades, man. This screams the 80s. Everything about the haircuts, some of the special effects, the dialogue. It's one of those unself-aware bad movies that I would usually rather watch, honestly, than a movie that was probably good. Because I don't know, I get more entertainment out of it. It's nothing better than sitting around with a group of friends and watching a movie like this, especially if there's beer involved. And but I'm not going to let that kind of cloud my vision a little bit. I'm going to give this movie a 2. I gave it a 1.5 for the script. It was pretty awful for the most part. If they would have just had the whole movie would be Skeletor, the bad guys in Grayskull, I would probably enjoyed that. That would have been because they had some good dialogue, but other than them, it was very forgettable. For the acting, yeah, I gave that one a 2. Some good performances by Skeletor. Evelyn was pretty decent. Man-at-Arms was okay on Eternia. Not much else to really write home about as far as the acting goes. Everyone else was pretty hammy and over the top, except for Lundgren, who was just kind of there. But he made a nice sweaty guy, I guess, so he filled out that role nicely. For production, I gave it a 4.5, actually. In kind of a lot of my co-hosts here didn't agree with me on this one, but I thought a lot of the set design was pretty cool. They had a lot of big sweeping ideas, at least on Attorney and the throne room for the most part, and like the soldier scenes where there's big groups of them, and the henchman design and all that. While it wasn't really always true to the source material, at least they tried to make who they did get in there look good. Other than Blade, I really can't stand his outfit. Dave's back there really massaging his cringer. For source accuracy, I gave it a 1.5. It basically has He-Man on the title, and they shoehorn the rest of the story in there. Has very little to do with Masters of the Universe, at least as I remember it. And they just cashed in on the name on this. It's the only thing I can think of. I still do believe this was not originally a Masters of the Universe movie. It was written as something else, and they just kind of blended it together like the Hellraiser movies started to do toward the end. So overall, yeah, I give this a 2.0. There's worse ways to spend 90 minutes, if you ask me. Just put get over yourself a little bit and sit back and just laugh a little bit and enjoy a taste of an era maybe you didn't grow up in, but man, this will bring you back there if you did. Because this has all the trappings of a big budget, but poorly executed 80s action / sorcery flick, which there were some good ones. I saw like Cull mentioned earlier, Conan, Beastmaster, all those movies they're classics for geeks like me, but I know they're a little hard to watch now, but they were all the rage back then. So yeah, I mean, this one's a little low serviceable. I will say this, if you were a guy who didn't know anything about He-Man, didn't have expectations from the cartoon and the comics, you might like this movie a little bit better. Because I think a lot of the reason, well, not all the reason, but a lot of the reason that people didn't like this movie is because the fans that go in there expecting to see He-Man didn't really see He-Man. So that really wasn't their cup of tea. So yeah, 2.0. Watch it for free. Please don't buy it unless you're going to buy it on Blue like Mr. Miracle is. And he's going to show it on New Year's Eve or whatever. But yeah, watch it for free if possible if you've never seen it. And that's pretty much it. So I believe we'll turn this over to chat now, unless we just want to do the aggregate from their scores. Do you want to do aggregate, or do you want to give them the chance to vote?
Yeah, let's give them the chance because like me, I kind of went lower just because the disappointment factor was so overriding. So maybe they feel the same.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because I didn't go the aggregate either.
And then you have Miracle, who all of a sudden, out of total left field inspiration, gives it a 5.
He's trying to get some Hollywood work, is what he's trying to do.
That's
that's like when the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Yankees in '61. I mean, nobody saw that coming either.
Yeah,
not even the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, so chat, give us your grade. What's your overall opinion? You can take all your other grades and throw them out the window. Give us your overall score now, 1 through 5. Was this movie great, or was it? Does it belong in the dustbin of history, along with many other greats from the '80s? Put your votes in now.
Like many other greats of the '80s.
I love it. I love this movie.
Like many other excrement from the '80s is what I would say.
He loves this movie. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 5. Yep.
Exactly.
It's
super awesome.
I think if he added them up, it wouldn't be 5.
I mean, He-Man is shooting a laser gun. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
that part's cool.
What's up with that?
Yeah, he showed that he never hardly used the sword at all. Like he would just kept shooting people with a laser gun. That was awesome too. Cheesy laser.
He could use it here and there, but most of it was long distance battles. Yeah.
Courtney Cox almost burning to death in the high school fire. It was all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is the arsonist in this movie. You can tell that he probably didn't have much sword work practice before, because they had an excellent swordsman in the Blade guy. He's done stuff for movies forever for swords. And then every shot you see Lundgren fighting with the sword, usually a close up. They get right up on him.
Yeah.
So
that was cheesy.
You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was always the result.
He's a goon through and through.
Yeah.
He wasn't the most flexible.
I'm with George on this one. You'd have to pay. Look, even if you did pay me, I wouldn't watch this again.
Okay? Oh, you're too harsh, man.
You could not pay me to see this again. Honestly, I almost didn't sleep after I saw this thing because of the horrible flashbacks. Okay,
I couldn't sleep because I was dreaming of Evil Lynn hovering over me, staring at me with her eyes.
Well, I wouldn't mind Evil Lynn hovering over me, but the actual aura of the movie itself was enough to scare the pants off of me, just because it was just so horrible, so traumatic at the time.
fun fact about Eva Lynn and this movie, Meg Foster, isn't she married to Scott Bakula? So there's another Star Trek tie-in.
Is she married to Scott
I don't know
Bakula?
about that.
I
don't
think
know.
so.
I don't know about that.
I know they've been together a long time. There's lots of pictures of them around the internet.
Oh, okay.
But
I know she was on They Live. I remember her in that movie.
She's a
And I
total
remember her
babe,
from a
man.
few other movies.
yeah,
All right. All right. Here we go, guys.
I got some scores in there.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Kenny,
Yes.
you ready?
Yeah.
All right. D-Runk, 1. So bad. Yep. Steve Whiting, 1. Joe, 4771, my buddy, 2. And look at this. Super Russ, 3.5. The cheese kept me laughing almost the whole time. It kept me crying, but that's just a different effect, I guess.
The chat agreed with my overall score of 2.
2.
All right.
Yeah, it takes a special person to really appreciate this movie.
I'd agree with that. I would
Special like
absolutely
Corky?
agree
Are
with
we
that.
shocking? Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more,
Corky.
Miracle. A very special person. Yeah,
Short best special.
a very special person.
I still enjoyed it. I hadn't seen this movie since the 80s, and I'm glad we got to watch it again. I am very glad I didn't have to pay for it, but that was.
It's free on YouTube. You can watch it free on YouTube. Anybody in the chat?
Yeah.
It's got to be
Yeah, I
free
watched it on
everywhere.
Prime.
I can't believe anybody would pay for this. So
Yeah.
It's got to be free everywhere.
I don't think I saw this movie in the theater, though. I'm pretty sure I saw this on VHS or something back in the day. I think I remembered it. I saw Transformers the movie in the theater, but not this one.
Yeah, I think they hand out free copies as you get admitted into Guantanamo Bay. They give you a copy.
It's popular.
Oh,
That's how they break you down.
So sad. Oh man, I appreciate this movie way more now than I did when I was 12. That's for sure. I was like, why haven't I
but
watched
I
it?
will agree that the poster Miracle is top notch. Really good stuff. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
the poster
That
does
was-
look
I mean,
epic.
It is really good. I remember it on the marquee there, or in the glass behind the glass cases when I went to see another movie, and that's what kind of like got me excited, But man, I should have smashed that glass, grabbed the poster, and saved the money.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. We need to go over what book we're going to be reading next time. What would that be? Let's see what day that's going to be on. Sorry, I'm pulling up my calendar here. So what's that? Be October 3rd.
Right.
And we're going to be reviewing Legend of Aquaman. I got the book sitting right over here. Madrog, you want to tell them who our guest host is going to be that night?
Right. I'm going to be out because I'm going to be on vacation with my lovely bride. We couldn't take a vacation for our 25th wedding anniversary, so we're taking it for our 26th, which was earlier this month. So I asked one of our stalwart and loyal attenders here, Unruly Simeon, if he could take my place as the 4th grader and the elder statesman amongst these august gentlemen. And he, believe it or not, assented. So he will be taking over for me on the 3rd, and he, I believe, already ordered a copy of Legend of Aquaman. So everybody, please be here and support Simeon. And I know that he will do a fabulous job and will do me proud.
Right on.
We look forward to it too. I forgot to show you this earlier. I forgot we were talking about sales earlier. I actually have a He-Man sale. I got it out of a loot crate. This is from season 1. I forget. It's something to do with dragons. There's a bunch of them. I watched the episode, but yeah, I got a really good one because I saw some of the other ones that got sent out and they were pretty awful. It's pretty sweet. I got a little COA for it too. So fun little fact there. So let's go ahead and get into what everyone's doing here in the future, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. So Dave, what do you got coming up on your channel in the near future?
I don't really have any plans right now, but I'm super, super busy with real life. So it's just YouTube has got to put on the back burner just for a little bit. It's all right. It's all right. That's just the way it is. Real life takes precedence sometimes. And yeah, I didn't have time to put out my video this week. I don't know if I'll be able to next week. Hopefully I will, but I have a few exams coming up and a big assignment. And there's lots of stuff going on. Sorry, that's all I can say. Everyone,
Learned, Mr.
chat.
Simplicity is best sometimes. So Kenny back there just chilling, getting stared down by the cosmic duo back there, and getting a picture taken at the same time. So hey, what's going on here?
Miracle.
Tell us about the picture, and then tell us what you got coming up here in the future.
Yeah, man, this is courtesy of Mr. Miracle, a 1-of-1 Silver Surfer piece. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. What's coming up on my channel? I'm not sure, man. Truth be told, I'm feeling like a little burnt out. So I don't know. Those top 10 picks videos. I brought them back a little bit, and I dropped a couple of them. But I'm probably not going to keep up with that. I tried. It's too much, and I got some stuff going on at work, which kind of like Miracle was saying is kind of important for me to take care of right now. But I'll be around. Might link up with maybe Biggie Shack. Maybe me and Biggie Shack will do what's tonight, Thursday? A little power hour action tomorrow night, maybe with Mr. Biggie Shack. I think there's a slab down match going down Sunday with Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson, and because his original opponent was I Got Issues, but he unfortunately, due to some circumstances, had to sell off his collection. Yeah, it was a bummer, but so anyway, he's not in it. So we have a replacement. So a mystery opponent will be facing Jeffrey HBK on Sunday, and I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to want to miss this mystery opponent. It's no one you've ever seen compete before. They have something cool planned, so it's going to probably be a pretty fun edition of Slabdown this Sunday. I'll be co-hosting with 90MF Comics on 90MF Comics channel. So if you want to catch me on that. That's about it for me, I think.
All right, good stuff. So, Mr. Metarog, what do you have planned on the near future? What just peeks over the horizon for you?
Well, like I said, I'm going on vacation next week, so really the only thing I have my contest support videos on Saturday, and I'm actually going to do the roundup next Wednesday because I'm leaving Thursday morning. So none of my usual Tuesday shenanigan videos. So just a video Wednesday, the roundup, and then you won't see anything for me for about 10 or 11 days. Then I'll be back, and I'll be on the No Faces chat after that, of course, as well on Mondays.
I think your mic's off, Gino.
Thank you. I'm constantly freaking back and forth, screen. It's hard managing these things sometimes. It's so much easier with Google Hangouts. Curse you for taking that off the air. My gosh, man. I mean, at least this program is free, but it takes a lot of micromanagement. My kingdom for something that dynamically changes with the voice of the speaker, but whatever. So I got a few things going on. I'm going to be doing some more spinoffs of the Friday 13th series. I'm going to do some top 10 lists and put something like a top 10 kills, my favorite movies in descending order. Much shorter than my review video is going to be. Got a couple more interviews I'm still working with. Got one posted from MMA fighter Ellis Hinesek here last week. Finally got that one taken care of. Got another one supposed to happen maybe next week. I haven't heard much from John Beatty lately. We're having kind of a disconnect there, so I might give him another ping again. I don't want to keep bugging the guy, but he seemed real enthused to do it. So usually when they wanted to fob you off, they just say no thanks. But he was getting a new mic set and all that, and he wants to play around with OBS. So I told him I'd help him with that too if he wanted to. But oh, there we go. Still distracted by mic lights. That's good. Other than that, I just got so much going on too, man. I do stuff on BitChute as well, so it's easy to get burnt out on YouTube, man. It can really take over. I'm not on. This is the only live stream that I'm on. I know you're on a ton of them, Kenny, but so yeah, I'm going to try to keep the content rolling in though. Dave makes fun of me because I'm always pinging on his feed, subscription feed. But so there's just more stuff coming up. I need to do some comic reviews. Fun little aside, I think I mentioned it a couple of shows ago. There's actually a comic book guy who has signs all over the place around here. I don't have LCS within 45 minutes of me in any direction, and none of them carry back issues, so they're all useless to me. But he's got tons of them, like a whole garage full of old stuff. So I have a new comic connection around, so maybe I can pick up some more of the issues that I don't have to order through Amazon. But yeah, so just more basic stuff, variety stuff from my channel. What's that?
I'll send you my want list.
Okay, yeah, I'll know. He said he's got like I think 20 or 30,000 issues of stuff just sitting around in his facility. So yeah, he's supposedly pretty legit. But he's got little like corrugated signs everywhere, like on these corners everywhere. I buy your comics, and it's got a phone number. So it's like maybe we'll have him on the show one day. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Just more variety, more of my usual randomness. So we're just gonna keep on driving on. So go ahead and say our good nights now, and we want to thank everyone who's always here in the chat for hanging out as long as they have in a 2-hour stream. Hopefully you got to Bub just now come in there.
Bub.
Hello, Bub, and Library Comics, by the way. Hope you all got a chance to watch the movie and enjoy it like we did. That little heaping dose of nostalgia we had. But any of you guys have any closing thoughts or anything you want to talk about before we get on out of here?
No, I'm good.
All right, so I think we are good to go. So stay tuned for Legend of Aquaman in 2 weeks. What was that, Roger?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And the new guest host in Medrog's Place in Unruly Simeon. That'll be on October 3rd. So same time, same bat channel. And once again, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, this is the Graders Notes crew out.
See ya.